Welcome to MSUA's Game Changers Live, where we speak with satellite and mobile connectivity thought leaders about industry trends, new technologies, and share what you need to know about the future of mobile satellite connectivity. I am your host for today, Lisa Dreher, and I am really excited to introduce our guest for today, Don Claussen. He is the CEO of ST Engineering iDirect. Welcome to the show, Don.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Maybe you can start by giving us a little bit of background on yourself and ST Engineering iDirect.
Sure. So I've been in the satellite industry for a bit over 20 years since I left the U.S. Army. I've spent most of the time since I've left the Army in the industry. I had a little bit of a stint where I was more on the networking side and less on the satellite side. Worked for companies such as Viasat and L3 Harris and Intelsat, and have found myself here at iDirect for the last 10 months. I think everybody in the industry knows iDirect. We're one of the leaders for ground systems within the segment, and I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Excellent. So, talk to us a little bit about how you found the last 10 months and what are your top important initiatives that you're working on within the organization.
Sure. It's an interesting time to join the company. As you know, we've spoken about previously, the industry is undergoing a lot of change. We have non-traditional entrants. We have more capacity going on orbit, which is allowing more users to access the network. So from a mobility standpoint, we're going to see more and more people join these networks. And what's interesting is, I've been around iDirect the entire time I've been in the industry as a competitor or user of the products, is over the last 10 months, really learning more about our enterprise class technology that allows these mobile users to operate in these satellite networks with, seamless beam switching or near seamless beam switching, how the operators use our global bandwidth management to operate their networks, and really how the two legacy companies that really make up iDirect now, NewTek, and the legacy iDirect are really focused on standards-based innovation. So I think that kind of sums up the last 10 months. It has been a learning experience. The external view is always interesting when you contrast it with the internal view. And I think a lot of things have meshed up. A very innovative company that's focused on standards-based innovation in the future.
Yes, standards. Absolutely a topic that's been very big in our industry lately. In terms of our audience is mobile SATCOM users. What do you really want them to know about iDirect?
I think the most important thing to understand is how we've been a leader in the market for seamless beam switching. That's important to the mobile user, especially if you're on an airplane that's moving at 500 or 600 miles per hour and has to go between multiple beams, or if you're a ship that has a long distance to travel across the Pacific or the Atlantic and you're going to switch beams. Near seamless beam switching is critical so that you don't lose the connectivity. User experience is the most important, especially when we talk about in-flight connectivity, right? We're all expecting the class of service to be very similar to what we have in the office or at home. But when you talk about the operators or the service providers, it's really global bandwidth management and how can we bring more terminals into the network. As I mentioned earlier, I think we're going to see more and more users access the satellite networks in the future because it will become more affordable and the terminals will be more accessible, smaller in size and more affordable.
Yeah. How do you think direct to device is going to impact that as well? Do you see that as an important factor?
If you mean direct to cell device,
Yes.
it could, right? Because now you have more people coming in and out of the network at the same time, which means you need a really robust network management capability. So I think that'll stress the network. And that will need some focus. What's really interesting is this direct to device or handheld conversation right now. I think this is going to really prove out the Internet of Things piece of this that reaches into satellite. So if we can figure this out, how do we get a large amount of terminals in a beam or into multiple beams or moving between beams and be able to handle the acquisition and of those into the network and be able to manage those appropriately? I think that's what's going to really influence the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see where things head on that front. In terms of iDirect, where are you really focusing your time and energy, and what can we expect from iDirect in the near future?
Sure. So we're working on our next generation platform, which will be launching early next year. And we'll do an unveil there so everybody will know the name and the features that are coming with it. The focus of that is to continue the things that we've been known for: global bandwidth management, seamless transition through beams, a robust network management system. But more importantly, we're going to continue our innovation with standards, because the industry's been abuzz with standards for the last 2 years, right? I think we've realized that to bring all these additional users onto the network, to be able to roam between multi-orbit capabilities and into the terrestrial network, we're going to have to do that. So we're focused on those two things, but we're also focused on creating products that allow our customers to take the journey with us. They make a big investment into our platform. So if you're going from dialogue or velocity or evolution, making sure that there's a path into this next generation platform that is largely standards based and continues on our legacy of leading the way for mobile users and operators.
Right, right. I think we've already kind of touched a little bit on this topic, but what do you see as the upcoming technologies and industry shifts we might expect?
Yeah, I think we all talk about these, right? So hopefully they don't become buzzwords. I think virtualization is key, right? How do we use our resources more efficiently and allow the flexibility that's required to bring all these users in? And as these users move, especially with the mobile audience, there's this pattern of life that goes on, whether it's cruise ships or commercial airlines, where you may have congestion in one area at one time and then it's idle in another. So I think it's critical that we focus on providing the flexibility in our platforms for the operators and the service providers going forward. So I think that's going to be critical going forward.
Mhm. What role are partnerships playing for iDirect?
So I think that's one of the other shifts that we have going on in the industry. We're all kind of siloed and working off on our own. You have the space segment and the ground segment and some things in between that. We announced an MOU earlier this year with Airbus. So we're getting closer to Airbus to understand how they're building their payloads and what the capabilities of the software-defined satellites are going to do. We're working with people that we traditionally wouldn't work with to expand our capabilities. We're working with Microsoft. We did a proof of concept for a virtualized modem with their Azure platform. So I think those are going to be critical, because the scale of the new space environment, sometimes we call it the new ground environment, we're not all going to be able to do it on our own. So we have to leverage technologies that maybe normally weren't in the industry to get that real enterprise value that's going to be required over the next 10 years.
Mm, yeah. How do you see some of these things affecting the mobility market and the players in this market?
So it should allow us to scale more. If we think about just flexibility, being able to move capacity, being able to use resources that aren't all in one place, whether it's a teleport or whether it's the processing of the information, I think it's going to allow us to provide the scale that the users require. We've worked in a mobile communications environment for almost the last 20 years with the cellular industry. So the expectation for us as a satellite industry is going to be that we provide the same level of service or better going forward. So if we don't enable these technologies such as virtualization and unlock the full potential of moving the capacity around, I think we're going to struggle to reach our total addressable market, which is going to bring more of these users into the network.
Right, right. Can you jump into some of the specific use cases and customers that iDirect is supporting today? And I know it's a huge, broad swath, so you can kind of just give us an idea of maybe some of the most unique use cases that you're supporting.
Sure. And it's interesting to use the term unique, because I think what was probably unique 5 years ago or something like that may not be unique now. For instance, when we get on an airplane, we expect that we're going to have internet access. I fly to Singapore. from Newark, I expect I'm going to have internet access almost the whole time. So,
Mhm.
we're very dominant in the in-flight connectivity market. We have some big names that use our products for that. I think that's a unique use case, and it varies based on commercial provider, whether you pay for it or it's free or you have text messaging, but we all expect it's there. So we support that market. We're also very large in the maritime market. Whether it's cruise lines or it's commercial vessels, we have a dominant market share in that market as well. So, that seems kind of high level and maybe broad, but it was probably unique 10 years ago, but it's not unique now. We expect that. And we see those markets expanding, right?
Right. Absolutely. Well, what do you see as some of the, I guess, biggest market or challenges in this industry that are actually influencing your company strategy?
Interoperability, right? Whether it's
Ah,
between the geo providers or between the geo providers and the MEO and LEO providers, and then the terrestrial network. I think that is going to be the dominant influence over the next 10 years. Can we make these networks interoperate? And can it be abstracted from the end user? If the end user
mhm.
has to do something to switch networks, then they're probably not going to want to use our products. And the example I like to use is, in the mid 2000s, when I would travel to the Middle East, I had my phone here in the States. I'd land at the airport wherever I was, and I'd get a phone because
Mhm.
they didn't interoperate. Now, what do? We fly to another country and we just turn our phone on and it works. And we pay $10 a day or whatever the rate is we have. That's where we are going to have to go as an industry to unlock the full potential of this. And I think we are going to be critical to augment those cellular networks. I drive from New Jersey to Northern Virginia every week, and there's gaps in cellular coverage. If our cars or our phones had connectivity to the satellite network, we wouldn't even realize those gaps exist, right? Because it would be a seamless orchestration between those networks. And that's where we're going to drive as iDirect, to try and make that as realizable as possible over the next 3 to 5 years.
And it seems like this is where the standards come into play as well. I guess, can you tie that together?
Well, it has to be.
Yeah.
That has to be where the standards come together, because if we're all running our own bespoke networks and we're 100% vertically integrated, we're never going to get there. And it's not like this is a novel concept. The mobile cellular operators have already proven this works. So if we take a page out of that book and we really decide we're going to do this as an industry, then we're going to unlock the total addressable market. We're going to bring more users in. And I think what you're going to see is a seamless mobile wireless network that's comprised of all orbits for SATCOM and comprised of the terrestrial wireless network. And that's what we're going to drive. That is our focus as a company moving forward.
That is incredibly exciting. So I'm sure that all of our audience cannot wait until that is absolutely a reality. So we look forward to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as you know, the Mobile Satellite Users Association has been around for over 30 years now. And with that in mind, I want you to pull out your crystal ball and give me your prediction for 30 years into the future.
Sure. So 30 years from now, why don't we back up to 10 years from now? I think we'll start to see that ubiquitous network that we just kind of spoke about. I think as long as we adhere to the standards, we'll see that. If we go to 30 years from now, I think everything will be connected. And we won't even know if we're connected through space or terrestrially or something that we don't even know about yet. As long as we do this right, I think that's where we'll be. About 5 years ago, there was a big push for connected cars, right? And we haven't realized that yet. I think some of it is because we haven't figured out how to align all these silos yet. Probably in 30 years, we're already there. Everything's connected all the time with no interruption. I think that's where we'll be.
Excellent. Well, Don, I want to thank you so much for taking time to be here today. This was an amazing interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to take a moment to thank the Mobile Satellite Users Association for hosting these sessions. To learn more about the MSUA, visit msua.org and you can learn how your organization can become a member of our amazing group of professionals and industry leading companies, as well as users of satellite mobile solutions. In addition, keep an eye out for our upcoming 2024 nominations program for the Satellite Mobile Innovation Awards. So be sure to check out msua.org to learn more. And we'll see you next time on MSUA's Game Changers Live.